Welcome to Coach Bennett's podcast, where every run has a purpose, where kindness is hardcore, where this is about running, and this is not about running, where every starting line is a finish line in disguise, where rambling still gets you where you need to be, where pineapple will never ruin your pizza, and the sodas, adult and not adult kind, are always cold, and where there is room on the starting line for everybody. I'm Coach Bennett. Thank you for letting me be a part of your day. Let's get started.
All right, welcome to episode 116 of Coach Bennett's podcast. This one is a longer title, actually, goals, but not just goals. I mean, that would be succinct, to the point, direct, but I wanted an addendum, so it's going to be goals, how to set them, change them, drop them, and achieve them, or maybe it should be how to set them, achieve them, change them, and drop them. I don't know the order that I should put that in, because you're not going to be achieving goals that you drop. I don't know. You know what? By the time you're listening to this, all of this has been decided, and that's about all I need to say, right? That is all I need to say. Although, before we get into this, let's also talk about the fact that I am not in Beaverton. No, I am not in Portland. I'm not in the Pacific Northwest. I am, in fact, in the great state of New Jersey. That's right, the Garden State, the third state in the Union. If you were not aware of that, you are now aware of that. And I used to have a book of facts about all the states, and that was a birthday present when maybe I was like 10. If that gives you any indication of how big of a nerd I was, my family thought, it's his birthday. What would this little boy love? Let's get him a book about the states in the United States with a whole bunch of facts about those states. And they were right. I absolutely, positively loved that book. And what I did not know until I read the book, which I did repeatedly, New Jersey is also the densest state in the United States. That's right. We have the most amount of people living in each square mile. Yes. Yeah, per square mile, highest number of people. Oh yeah. So we've got that going for us, which may not be something we have going for us. It doesn't matter. The point here is that this is episode 116, and when I hear 116, I think of a couple things. I think of just 16, not 116, and I think about the fact that Dwight Gooden was a pitcher for the New York Mets back in the 80s, rock star, epic, unbelievable pitcher. His nickname was Doc Gooden, and he was, I think, broke into the majors at 18 or 19 and had one of the greatest 2 seasons in history. I mean, he pitched well beyond that, but he had 2 especially standout seasons when he was 18, 19, or 19, 20. Anyway, that's what I think about. And I also think about the John Mellencamp song, Jack and Diane, because there's a line in there, one of my favorite lines, hold on to 16 as long as you can. Changes come around real soon. Make us women and men. What a great line by John Mellencamp, who at different times was John Mellencamp, John Cougar Mellencamp, and John Cougar. Yeah, so do what you will with that. All right, I'm in Jersey, and it's August, and we're going to talk about goals. And obviously, you know, if you've been a long-time listener, that for whatever reason, when I leave the Pacific Northwest and I have to record these podcasts somewhere else, they tend to just be straight bangers, and I have no doubt that this one's going to be a straight banger. So let's get into it. And it's a topic that is always a good topic to talk about, because I feel like we should always be setting goals. We should always be in the process of going after goals. And that doesn't mean we always have to be in the middle of a training plan. It doesn't mean that we always have to have some race that we're looking at. But I think, goals is kind of, in a way, it's playing running. Like, what's the purpose of when you're playing football or soccer? It's to get the goal, or it's to stop someone from getting a goal, right? You wouldn't say, oh my gosh, this works out well because we're talking about goals. I did not mean to do this, I promise you. But if you think about it, no one says, like, oh, why can't we just play the game? Why do we have to set goals? Well, when you play a game, you're setting goals. I mean, that's the whole point of it. Like, we're going to play, there's rules, there's an outcome, you're working towards an outcome, and you're having fun doing it. I think a lot of times when we set goals as runners, there's a layer of seriousness that we put on it, which we don't need to put on it. It's okay if there is, a goal maybe that we're setting that we're taking seriously and we're going to be super focused on, but we can also have other goals that aren't so serious, right? Why so serious? You don't have to always be serious about it, but just wanted to get that out right away so you're not thinking, well, I'm not in the mood to set a goal, or I'm in between races and I don't want to set a goal. Maybe look at goals in a different light. That's all I'm saying. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about how to set them, how to change them, how to drop them, and how to achieve them. And if you've heard me talk before, whether it's about goals or challenges or taking on risks and rewards or race plans, anything like that that is in and of itself goal related, you're probably going to hear me say as one of my first pieces of advice that you need to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? And I'm not going to harp on this for very long. I'm just going to actually talk a few things that I think are important here. First and foremost, is the goal exciting to you? I think a goal needs to be exciting in some way. It doesn't mean it needs to be pump up the jams, put the volume to 11, let's get some balloons and some sparkles and really have a blowout fest because I just set a goal excitement levels. But I think it should excite you. It should interest you. You should have some passion for it, because I really think a goal, if it's worth doing, then it's worth doing well. And it doesn't mean that's always going to be easy. In fact, most of the time, if it's a good enough goal, it's not going to be easy. And if you think about it, we go back to that idea of, global football / soccer, and we think about what is the purpose of the game, what is the goal of this game? Well, it's to outscore the other team. It ain't easy to score a goal. It's not. It is not easy to score a goal on a pitch. I've watched enough football to realize that's the truth. It ain't easy. It's why you don't see 11-7 scores. Even at the level of kids just starting, or you get into youth soccer, global football, or you get into semi-pro, you get into pro, you get into, World Cup. At every level, you don't see lots of scoring because it's difficult. And yet, it doesn't matter if you're new. It doesn't mean if you're just playing on the weekend with friends. It doesn't matter where you're playing, the conditions you're playing in. It doesn't matter. It's not easy to score goals, all right? But it should be exciting and it should be fun. And I think that's something to remind yourself, that you can have fun even if there isn't this idea of massive payoff or you're going to be running a world major marathon. The point is, are you excited by the goal? And the goal doesn't need to be something that happens today. It doesn't need to be something that you have to wait 6 months to attempt. The point is, when you first ask your question, does this goal excite me? What's the answer? Is it yes or no? If it's no, I would drop it. I wouldn't do the goal. Why are you doing this if it doesn't excite you? What's the point, And listen, don't say, well, my room's a mess, I got to clean up my room, and that doesn't excite me, I still got to do it. Listen, don't play that game where we're turning what we're talking about, goals, into chores, okay? I think we can, leave the semantics aside. When we're talking about goals, we're talking about something we're setting up to challenge ourselves, to push ourselves towards, to strive towards, whether it's something in our immediate future or long-term in our future. The point is this goal that you're choosing to set, you're not forced to take on. You're choosing to set this goal. Does it excite you? Now, if it does, the next question would be, is it possible to achieve this? Because if it's impossible to achieve it, that doesn't mean we can't take on the goal. Because remember, maybe it's impossible to achieve right now. That doesn't mean it's going to be impossible to achieve. I would say the overwhelming majority of people that start training for a half marathon or a marathon cannot run a half marathon or marathon, much less race a half marathon or marathon when they first set the goal. It's an impossibility. But over time, it becomes a possibility. And that's what we need to ask ourselves. Is it possible to achieve this? Is it possible? It doesn't mean it's going to happen. I'm not looking for a guarantee it's going to happen. I'm looking for a possibility. And if it's not possible today, when would it be possible? Now, this is where you're going to have a real heart-to-heart with yourself and figure out, how much can you commit to this in terms of time? Because for some of you, it may be, we'll use the half marathon as an example. I can't do a half marathon today, but if I were to train 5 days a week, I think I could do a half marathon in maybe 10 weeks. Okay, well, do you have 5 days a week to commit to training? No. Okay, well, then we can't do it in 10 weeks. Maybe you can commit to 3 days of training, and that means it's going to take us 14 weeks to complete the half marathon training. So we have a real possibility of running or racing this half marathon. That demands honesty from you. It demands a conversation with you, a real conversation based in reality. What can you commit to? And then how much time with that level of commitment will it take for you to have a real possibility, a real chance to take this on and achieve it? Not a guarantee, because there are no guarantees. I don't care if, you give yourself 100 weeks and you can train 7 days a week. Something may happen where you don't achieve it. That's with every great goal. There's a possibility of failure. There's a possibility of coming up short. There's a possibility that things don't work out for whatever reason. So we're not looking for guarantees. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the possibility to potentially achieve this goal. So ask yourself about that. Is it possible to achieve this goal? And what does that mean? It means I need to commit X for X amount of time, right? So figure that out. Maybe it is 3 days a week. Maybe it's 4 days a week. Maybe it's 5 days a week. Maybe you're someone who runs 6 or 7 days a week. Whatever. The point is, what can you commit to? And again, realistically, don't say, well, I could run 5 days a week. I know you maybe could, but if that's going to destroy the rest of your life and stress you out, I can tell you that eventually that stress in your life is going to find its way into your running, and you're eventually not going to achieve this. So, what can you conceivably commit to that makes sense, realistic, and how much time do we need? So spend some time thinking about that. And I know it seems like I'm harping on long-term goals. I just want to use that as an example. It could be a short-term goal. You could say, you know what? Today, my goal is to get a really good run in. What does that mean? Well, for me, let's say I really want to get in a 40-minute run. Okay, now you have to do a different process. When do I have an opening to do a 40-minute run? Because I could say, well, I could do it at 9. I have an opening. Well, how much free time do you have at 9? I have 20 minutes. Well, then you can't do a 40-minute run at 9. You have 20 minutes. Do you even have 40 minutes today to do this run? If the answer is no, then you adjust. Similar to, I can't commit 5 days a week, I can commit 3. Okay, well, we have to adjust when we're going to do the half marathon. So for this 40-minute run today, I have an opening at 7 p.m. Do I feel comfortable running at 7 p.m.? I do. I could go run up at the boardwalk. Okay, and you have 40 minutes. Yes, I do. I've got more than enough time. Okay, fantastic. What's the weather going to be like? It's going to be just fine. All right, then we're good. But if it was really, really hot and humid, as it can get on the Jersey Shore, well, then maybe I can't do 40 minutes at 7 p.m. Or maybe I can, but I'm going to have to really back off the pace. So I'm not going to be able to run as fast as maybe I would be able to if I were to run right when the sun is about to rise, so before it gets hot, before it gets too humid. But I can't run at that time. I have to run later. I have to make certain adjustments. I'm also going to be stopping on the boardwalk and getting some water on me and in me at a number of the showers that they've got along the boardwalk. So I'm going to be adjusting the goal. It may not be a 40-minute straight run. It may mean that I'm running for 10 minutes, getting some water, running for 10 minutes, getting some water, and doing that over the course of a 40-minute run that I have the time to do at 7 p.m. in the conditions that I'm running in. I'm going to have to make further adjustments. Okay, now I've got my goal set, a realistic goal that's possible to achieve, that takes into account reality, which is really what I'm looking for when I'm a coach talking to an athlete. We got to stay in reality. It doesn't mean we can't dream, because I'll tell you what, anything we're planning on doing in the future is relying heavily on us dreaming about what potentially is going to happen in the future. So yes, there is room for dreaming every time you're setting a goal, okay? Just remember, achieving the dream requires you to be awake, all right? I wish it was otherwise, but that's just how this game is played. The other thing I want you to ask yourself when you're setting goals, which is going to help dramatically over the course of this quest that you're on, is, are you going to be better for it? Not for achieving it. Are you going to be better for trying? And that's what I love to focus on. Not achieving the goal, because from a coaching perspective, I can't guarantee you're going to achieve the goal. And my job is to really just set you up to get you to a starting line with the opportunity to achieve the goal. That does not mean you're going to achieve the goal. I can't set up the weather on a race day. I can't set up the fact that, I can guarantee that the pace car is going to go in the right direction, or that they're not going to run out of water, or that suddenly the wind is going to shift and it's going to be in your face, or that you get a cramp and now that screws things up, or the pacer screws things up, or that somebody sneezed on you 4 days earlier and now you're at 85% and not 100%. These are the things that, nobody can control these things. So the goal here is, can we navigate this journey and get you to this ultimate starting line with the possibility of achieving it? And if you can get to that starting line, having done all of this work, all right, cleared these hurdles, broken through these barriers, done the minutes, the meters, the miles, are you better for it before you cross the starting line? Because you're going to have to acknowledge that you're better for it before you cross the starting line if you want the confidence you need to have a real chance at accomplishing it on the other side of that starting line. So the question is, are you better for it? And then why? What is it about this journey, not the accomplishment of the goal, this journey that you feel is going to make you better in some way? Maybe it's, you want to show that you have the ability to follow through on a commitment and recommit to that commitment. Maybe it's the confidence you feel that's going to come from showing up and crossing starting lines and taking these things on. Maybe it's the joy of consistently getting out and moving. What are some of these feelings, these vibes that you're going to be better because of the journey, the quest, because of the work you're putting in towards accomplishing the goal? Not accomplishing the goal, towards accomplishing the goal. All right? Super important. We're distinguishing between, yes, I will be something because I accomplished the goal, and I have become something in this quest to accomplish the goal, regardless of whether or not the goal is in fact accomplished. Okay? Another thing that I want you to bring in to this idea of goals is community. And we'll start with your own personal community. I talk about you becoming your own best teammate, your own best coach, your own best friend. You're going to need all three of those versions of you to support the athlete you are throughout this process, especially with a great goal. And again, that doesn't mean the great goal has to be 42.2K. It could be me running tonight. I'm going to need, if it's hot and humid, on the boardwalk, my own best coach, my own best friend, my own best teammate there to make sure I'm running the right way. I'm running intelligently. I'm being a supportive teammate. I'm being a coach that is supportive so I can have the best run I can possibly have. And you may think it's just a run. Yeah, but guess what? Every training cycle is just a collection of runs, isn't it? So why would we diminish the value of one run? And we do that all the time, but it's usually the opposite. We will choose a poor run that we have, a run that didn't go as well as we would like, and we will blow it completely out of proportion. We'll say, oh, I'm in terrible shape now. I'm not any good. I suck. I'm weak. I'm soft because of one run. Which, okay, fine, if that's how you're going to operate. Well, then why wouldn't you put in as much work and passion towards making a single run the best run it can be by being the best coach, the best teammate, and the best friend you can be? Now it's like, it's just one run. Why do I have to worry about being supportive, kind, and intelligent out on a run? It's just one run. Well, for the same reason why you're willing to say the entire 5 weeks leading up to this crap run are meaningless because of this one single crap run. Look, you're either going to put the spotlight on a single run or you're not. And if we're going to showcase a run, which I'm fine with doing, then let's make sure we know the purpose of the run and we're running it the right way and we're being the best coach, friend, and teammate we can be on the run. Because if we do that, we're going to have a better chance of stringing together a whole series of runs, which again are what make up a training cycle, which is the best way to put together a great training cycle. So make sure you have that community of believers and friends and supporters that are you out there on the run with you. Also, when you're setting a goal, whether it's a small goal, a big goal, an in-between goal, an itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny yellow polka dot bikini goal, it doesn't matter. I think you should invite friends, your community, your teammates, your family in on some of those goals. If nothing else, they serve as great benchmarks, foundations, or just, launch pads and bouncing pads. Is there such a thing as a bouncing pad or bouncing wall? I forget what the word is, but to just throw ideas out there. Hey, do you think this is the best way to do it? I'm running low on motivation and inspiration. Maybe I can get some from you. You're going to have people there that if they know this is important to you, if these are your good friends, if this is family that cares about you, then what's important to you is what's important to them. And they will be able to maybe be that support system you need when you need some support. And with every great goal, you're going to need some support. That's just the way it is. Yes, from that internal community, but also from your external community. So start thinking about big goals and small goals. Like, who are the people in your life that you want to bring in when you say, hey, I'm committing to this. I'm going to be working towards this. I may need some support. And be upfront and honest. I always say, hey, listen, over the next couple of weeks, if I'm taking something on, I'll say to my family, I'll say, listen, I may, just need some help here. I may need you to kind of instigate me getting to another starting line, or I may not have the motivation. You're going to need to help me remind myself of what I already know, and what I already know is that I want to do this, but I'm going to do my best to forget that I know that. You're going to have to help me know that, remember it, internalize it, externalize it, and get to a starting line and keep going. And they're okay. So when they see me flailing around, they know, well, all right, he's doing his thing. He needs some help, and we will help. And I'll tell you what, when you ask people for help, a lot of times it has this extra benefit. And that extra benefit is the people that you're asking for help from are reminded they too can ask for help. Which, guess what? Everyone should know that they have the ability to ask for help. And I'll tell you what, I said it once, I'll say it again. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of stone cold strength. So when you're asking for help, you may be what inspires another person to ask for help. And if we all received help when we needed help, this world would be a better place. So, just going to say that. Another thing about goals, document the journey, y'all. Document the journey. And I'll tell you why. Remember when I asked you, are you going to be better because of this? Right? And if the answer is yes, I believe I will be, why would you not want to remember that journey? If you're about to start a road trip, and I say, is this road trip going to be consequential to you and your life? Are you going to be better as a result of this road trip? Will there be moments in this road trip that will make you a better person, that will inspire and motivate you, and you say yes, and then you just don't pay attention. You never look out your window. You keep your headphones on and your head down. What? No. That's not how it would work at all. You'd be taking pictures, you'd be taking videos, you'd be documenting, you'd be writing about it. You'd want to remember this because, like I said, it's consequential. And the consequence of those actions is you are a better version of yourself. So document the journey. Write things down. I know I say it all the time. Too bad. I only say it all the time because it's good for you, all right? So I'm going to say it again. Keep a running journal or a running log or a diary and write about it. Write about these things. And I'll tell you what, sometimes it's immediate. You realize like, wow, this was a big deal. But sometimes it's not until weeks, months, or even years later you can look back and say, that was a big deal. I didn't know it at the time, but now looking back, I realize just how big a deal that was. So if you're setting a goal, big goal, small goal, document the journey. Write about it, okay? Write about it. Now, now that we've kind of got goals set up, and we're documenting the journey, I think it's also important to talk about, the need to adjust. Because if we go back to the beginning where I said, what can you commit to? Well, what you can commit to changes. Now, everyone always thinks it means backing off from a goal, but I want you to know it goes both ways. Sometimes you can commit to 3 days a week, and now later in the journey, you can commit to 4. Okay, well, maybe you've got to adjust your goal a little bit. Maybe you can actually accomplish more than you thought. Maybe it's not how much you can commit, it's just that you've made some jumps. Whether it's mental or physical gains, you've made some jumps. So maybe we need to revisit the goal. And it's not getting rid of the goal, it's actually adding to the goal. Maybe it was to run a 5K. And now you're thinking, you know what? I didn't realize I was going to have the jumps and the gains that I've had over these last 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. So I think I'm going to change it from running a 5K to now racing a little bit. I'd like to bring in a little bit of racing into the goal. Who knows? Maybe it was a 5K. Now you say, instead of just running a 5K, and you're saying, wait a minute, did you say just running a 5K? Before it was, I didn't even know if I could cover 5K. Now you're talking about just running a 5K. You're thinking, I'd like to extend it out to an 8K. I'm not going to race it, but I think I could run 8K in a row. And as a result, I may need to adjust and extend out the goal 2 or 3 weeks, but that's actually what is really exciting me right now. The motivation is not 5K anymore, it's 8K. And now suddenly running that 5K is going to be part of the training as opposed to the goal of the training. Okay, that's fine. Just make sure when you do get through that 5K barrier, you celebrate running 5K. Because a lot of times what happens is we will self-diminish these breakthroughs. And what used to be a big goal, when it becomes commonplace, we don't take the time to say, wow, this is now commonplace, which in and of itself is epic. So maybe what used to be the mountaintop, which was run 5K in a row, is now just an easy day for you. Well, celebrate that. That's a big deal, that running 5K is now just an easy day. So be open to adjustments. And remember, adjustments can be adjustments in so many different directions. Do not assume adjusting a goal means failure, because that's not what it always means. Sometimes it's just really sound coaching. You got sick, there was life, there was work, you lost motivation because other things were happening in your life that were taking your time and your passion maybe. That doesn't mean this goal was a failure, because remember, it wasn't about just accomplishing the goal. It was about who you became, who you were becoming along the way to this goal. So there's still progression. There are still aspects of you that are different than when you started. Celebrate that. Celebrate that. Don't equate, especially in running, the goal with the distance between the ultimate starting and finish line on race day as the only progression you make. There are sometimes so many runs. Could be dozens of runs, could be hundreds of runs, could be hundreds of kilometers, could be thousands of kilometers that are run over the course of a goal quest that suddenly get ignored as if like they just don't exist, that they weren't progression forward, that it was not these gains that were being made, because we only look at the distance between the start and finish line on race day as proof of progression. It's like, but you're going to forget about the 14, 16, 18, 6 months, 2 years of progression we made to get to this starting line? Are you kidding me? We're just going to leave all that awesomeness on the ground? We're just going to throw it away? Pretend like we didn't get here? We're going to pretend that we didn't run ourselves to here? So just make sure you're taking that into account, okay? And remember, you're not just making adjustments one way or the other because of physical issues. There are emotional issues. There are mental issues that you're going to be making adjustments. Maybe you're a stronger athlete mindfully, and now you're going to adjust the goal as a result. Maybe your mindset is in a different position. Maybe it's a little bit more tired and exhausted because of other things that are going on in your life. So you can't give that level of focus now that you could at the beginning of this goal. But that's fine. Adjust. Be a great coach. Be a great teammate. Be a great friend to yourself. You're going to have a better chance at continuing to move forward, whether or not it includes this goal or not, which leads me to dropping a goal. Sometimes it's best to drop a goal. And sometimes that means it's the best thing to do. Because I just said, sometimes the best thing to do is to drop a goal. Period. We don't have to get into any more detail other than that unless you want to. But if the best move is to drop the goal, then that means the best move is to drop the goal. Why would we then say, yeah, but, I feel like I'd be a failure. So I'll do the second best move, the third best move. Why are we leaving the best move on the table? Like, if the best move is to say, I can't keep training for this 10K. I can't do it. I have school, I have work, I have family obligations. I can't train for the 10K right now. I could keep running, and I could train for nothing at all right now, and I think I would enjoy my running more. I would still be making gains. Running would be benefiting me. I wouldn't be hating the act of running like I am right now with all of this intensity and focus driving towards racing this 10K. I wouldn't resent running for making the rest of my life so hard. Okay, then let's drop the goal. We can always pick it back up if we want to. Why can't we? I know where it is. You dropped it right there. We'll even hide it behind that bush. It's there if we want it. And the cool thing here is the rest of your life still moves forward. And like you said, we can take advantage of running in a positive way. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Let's just set a new goal. Does this goal excite you? The goal of just running for no reason other than joy of running? Yes, it does. Will it make you a better version of yourself? Yes, it will help me with my family obligations, my school obligations, my work obligations. Terrific. Do we have the potential to succeed in this goal? Yes, I think I can run on my own and, adjust depending on my schedule. So running is a positive influence in my life, a positive stressor in my life. So yeah, I think I can. Great. This is our new goal. The old goal we're putting over there. It's still over there. We can pick it up. We don't ever have to pick it up again, or we can pick it up and adjust it. Maybe the 10K becomes a 15K or becomes a 5K. It doesn't matter. Maybe it was originally going to be a hometown 10K. Well, in 3 years, we're going to pick it back up, and now it's going to be a destination 10K in the trails in some far-off land that sounds really cool. Okay, whatever. The point is, have the guts, have the courage, have the strength to put something down. Everyone always thinks that you need guts, courage, and strength to carry things. Sometimes, yes, that is true. And sometimes you need guts, courage, and strength to let go of something, to put something down, to walk away from something. Right? Yes. So, ask yourself these questions. Does it make sense for you to adjust the goal? Does it make sense for you to drop the goal? It doesn't mean you can't have more goals. All right? It doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you made what might be the best decision for you, which sounds like a great decision. So, there you go. There you have it. I told you, stone cold banger. Every time I tend to leave. And listen, this isn't saying that when I record in Oregon, the episodes aren't great. I think they're great. I think I think you think they're great. I hope you think they're great. You know what? If you do think they're great, leave a rating and review. Come on, people. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to it or follow it on whatever format you're listening, and send in some comments. My friends, what do you like? What do you want to hear? We've got the mailbag. I got to open that bad boy up again. But thank you for listening to episode 116 about goals. I hope this helps you. I hope you enjoyed it. Now take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And I'll meet you on that next starting line. Thank you so much for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast today. And if you haven't already subscribed or set yourself as a follower to the podcast, I really hope you would. And make sure you check out the show notes, because in those show notes, you're going to find a link to Coach Bennett's newsletter and all the social media sites I'm on, like Instagram and Threads and Cameo and Blue Sky and Nope, not on that one anymore. So all the ones I am on, you're going to find it in the show notes, so check that out as well. And as always, thank you again for listening to Coach Bennett's podcast. Until next time, you keep taking care of yourself and each other.